Hey, how's it going guys? ZDEyE here. So I wanted to do something different compared to what I usually do on my YouTube channel. This time around, if you know, basically by the title of the video, you already know what I'm about to do. But, you know, I want to make this kind of comparison between the two art designs that was done for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. One of them is obviously, you can see on the left side corner, Geralt on the left side and the right side. Basically on the left side, as we're already familiar, Geralt, you know, from the complete edition. I wanted to make a complete edition as well, see it in here because it's a complete edition on the right side corner. The right side of this design of Geralt is basically more of a, well, the new next-gen version of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. So, okay, now you can see little glimpses, for example, like the sword isn't complete. I tried to do, the best job as I could to make a comparison between the two and see how much of a significant, if it was even significant difference comparing them both. Now, of course, let's take a look. We can clearly see that the logo, the name, The Witcher Wild Hunt, as you can, the font, right, is practically identical. It's just that they used a different sort of a material, the way the effects are kind of presented in here. Like as you see the 3, like this kind of like a scratch logo of the number 3, right? It's actually a little more highlighted this time around. Oh, perhaps I should mention, guys, I did not use any special effects, okay, for these two images. Basically, they are original images, okay, so we can see the complete edition has been changed from silver to goldish. I definitely think the little smaller one would actually makes more sense in this case, because we want to present the game's name more than just say a complete edition. Okay, so obviously in extra items inspired by the Netflix series. Netflix is not here, we know why, but I want to make a little bit comparison between Geralt. Okay, first let's take a look at his armor. Okay, we can clearly see the armor is practically identical. Okay, so basically one here, it seems like it's more warranted, kind of rigged, more older, maybe a little bit different design as well. But actually thinking about the design, it's not that different. Actually, I might be wrong about that. Taking a look at the chains, look at the chains, they're different. The chains on the new Geralt, basically, that's what I'm going to be referring to as a new next-gen update. It's more of a military west, and you know, they always use a swordplay. You know, it's more of a typical chain that you would expect to see on the armor. But in the older version, maybe it was not as like fantastic in terms of the quality. It is a little bit different. At least it's a smaller chain. Okay, so the armor and stuff, they do look identical in terms of the style, the way it is like presented. Okay, now I want to take a look at the sword. Okay, so comparing them both, I don't know, maybe this is just the quality of the picture right here. You can see on top left, well, left corner. It seems like it's more curled and twirled, I should say. My vocabulary isn't the best in English, I apologize. You can clearly see it's a little bit different in terms of the sword, but also it could be just simply as a reflection. Now, the swords actually do resemble a little bit different, at least in terms of the handle, where for the safety, so you don't actually get your hand into the blade. So you can clearly see the handle is a little bit different. This is more rusted, a little more brownish, and here it's more silverish. Okay, so continuing on, we can see that maybe it's just the color has been changed for the handle itself, for the comfort, of course. But yeah, the circle, the logo of the Witcher on the top of the sword is practically identical. It's just a different color scheme. Next up, I want to take a look at the other sword. Okay, this is actually a little bit more significant. Now we can see the edge, or basically looks like a twin's, like, I'm not too sure, maybe a serpent or maybe some sort of a snake. Actually, looking closer at it, I think it might be actually just a wolf. Okay, so we can see that the handle is actually far more presentable in the new version. You can clearly see and tell, but also going down towards the sword, we can see that the effects, the logo you see right here, like the kind of yellowish kind of magic signs. In here, it's actually more blue, doesn't it? Doesn't it look like a little more blue? In here, it's yellow. Also, by the way, in gameplay, trailers and stuff like that, time and time we have seen the sword actually glowing yellow with its marks. In this case, it seems like it's gonna be more bluish. Again, it's just maybe because of this artwork, it may be just gold again in the new version of the Witcher 3. Okay, now when I looked at it first time, I actually thought that he was wearing gloves for a second there, but again, I'm wrong. And of course, he's not. And we can see clearly that the hands are a little bit, cleaner on the right side. It's also more presentable in terms of the quality that we can see the difference. Bottom hand is a similar thing. Okay, so next up I want to take a look at the most obvious thing, Geralt's face, and his hair as well. I want to mention one thing. Do you notice that the Geralt's face is actually a little bit bigger, right? I actually don't think it's bigger. I think it's just the way they kind of face the camera, like the way when they wanted to take this as a screenshot or an art, right? So basically seems like his face on the right side is a little bit more lengthier, like a little longer. But of course we cannot deny that his eyes, like the way his expression is far more darker, and I like that. Also we can see there's a new scar right here on the top left corner right here beside the eyebrow, but he doesn't have it here, so that's a little bit different. Oh, we can see that he's been beaten up in some cases on this cheek. Here, it's not here, but the rest seems almost identical. It's also, I can tell you that the scar on the very famous scar on his left eye, you can see that it's more fresher, more kind of a newer, more recent. In here, it seems like it's a lot more like already healed up. So again, this is just the presentation of Geralt after a few years passed. Okay, maybe it's also a possibility because it's a complete edition and he already went through all the expansions through the story, and of course he'll gain new scars right here. Old scars may heal and the wounds may heal as well. That's why we're not seeing on his cheek this old scar, and perhaps this is why he resembles a little bit different. Maybe it's because he's also wiser. That's why he kind of seems a little bit more different. Maybe also it's a possibility that he kind of shows himself being a little bit more presentable towards people, right? Even though he does seem much darker, but I would say that he just seems more wiser. Again, that's just me. Okay, so the hair. Okay, I think the hair is a lot more presentable on the right side. It seems like he actually has a little bit more neater, a little bit more style. You can clearly see little pieces of hair coming down just a tiny bit. On the left side, his hair isn't, well, it seems like it's been tied up more than it is on the right side. It's also a possibility that, maybe, he could have stayed with Yennefer and maybe he just wants to be more presentable. That's why he kind of looks like this. Again, of course, it's not going to be just like this, obviously, with those eyes and the way he's looking, his impressions. I gotta say that he perhaps is, maybe during the fight, or he's about to face off an enemy. That's why he's pulling out the sword. But yeah, okay, well, other than this, I want to touch on the background, by the way. The background has a little bit more to do of Geralt on the right side, because you can see a little it's a big mountain in the background, and that's really all there was. On the left side, there's just some particle effects and shadow pieces just coming around Geralt on the left side. So there's nothing much we can go on in terms of comparison on the background of both of the Geralts. Now, I think this is maybe the last thing, maybe not. Actually thinking about it, there might be two things I want to mention about his kind of a beard and a mustache. Seems like he actually kind of shaved it, or at least he took care of the mustache on the right side a little bit more. I gotta think that this is closer to a couple years later Geralt on the right side, and this Geralt on the left side is sort of a younger Geralt. Okay, now last thing what I wanted to mention initially, it was basically this, the Witcher necklace. Okay, so we can clearly see that the Witcher itself, it seems like by comparison on the right side, he's a lot more kind of softer in tone. And on the left, he has far more sharper, edges. Edges in here seems a lot more curvy, if that makes sense. I'm not too sure. Did he change it sometime? Very curious. But also the chain that holds the wolf is a little bit different. It seems a little bit bigger. At least thicker in terms of the chain. In here, there's less chain, well, in terms of the thickness, right? But there's more of it. In here it's more thicker, but there's less of the chains. Okay, well, that's perhaps maybe to present as if he actually, when he made some kind of modifications towards his armor or whatnot, right? We can clearly see that the chains are larger on this the right Geralt, but also there are fewer. On the left side, again, chains, there are more chains, but of course they are smaller. That's of course to the advantage, during the fights and what he needs it, what he needs it for. Okay, well, I think that's all there was to it that I wanted to mention. We can clearly see the details and design on his suit. For example, like the nails or whatnot, like to hold up his suit, he's been actually a little bit kind of curved out, kind of pulled out a little bit, if that makes any sense. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing really else to go on. I think I've mentioned everything that I wanted to mention. Alright then, thank you so much for watching, guys. Like and subscribe. See you guys all later, and have a wonderful day.